Thank you, Thomas. And our next guest, Ghazali, on the list is Carson Kiburo. He is a youth leader and community organizer from the Endoroas Indigenous community of Kenya. He works on Indigenous people's rights, youth empowerment, and global governance. He currently serves as the co-chair of the Global Indigenous Youth Caucus. Carson is a technical production specialist, contributing to and producing multimedia works such as video shoots, graphic design, and the print media to advance his advocacy work in the area of preservation and transmission of traditional knowledge. Indigenous peoples' traditional knowledge is key in combating climate change as well as environmental conservation. Ghazali, I give you the floor.
Thank you so much, Ini. Carson, before I start, what is your Twitter handle? If you're
All right. Thank you, Ghazali. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yeah, you're good. What's your Twitter handle so people can know how to contact you?
Yeah, it's Hot Kiburo. That's my second name that you see right there. Just to search like that, Kiburo.
At Kiburo. Okay, awesome. All right, let's jump right into it. You're Endoroi. Most of people actually know about the landmark case that you guys won in 2010. As far as I know, little to no movement around that landmark case. Anything cooking in that kitchen from the Endoroi perspective?
Well, thank you. First of all, I'm a proud son of the Endorais people. And the Endorais won against the government of Kenya. And the landmark case that you've just mentioned in the then African Commission on Human and People's Rights, that is, nowadays it's called African Court on Human and People's Rights. It's headquartered in the Gambia, Banjul, which was almost a surprise. To give a little update, there was a presidential task force set in September 2014, but just that, nothing else. The gazetted commissioners, including the Attorney General, were not interested in engaging the community. And I think people lost their energy along the way to follow up with the government, because even at the lowest hanging fruits of that ruling haven't been plucked by our people. So to say, I'm just giving the way the situation is right now. And save for the official registration of our People's Umbrella Organization and the illegal 10% grant out of the revenues from Lake Bogoria. Yes, and to go back to the question that you asked about something in the kitchen, yes, there's something in the works. I'm using your words, right? Yes, there's something in the works. The community is rebooting the process while just getting the government to implement the recommendations from the court. There were 7 of them, and like I just mentioned, 2 of them have just been scratched a little bit. We would like to revitalize the process. We're revitalizing the energy, linking the elders who took up the fight, and my generation who just saw the little bit of the fight for our land rights advocacy. So just to say, we're reaching out to friends, supporters, to try and reboot again, because as our brother Tuomas said, in this fight, we're never alone, and we'll never walk alone, because we have this movement. Yes, thank you.
Carson, I know you from Project Access last year. You were very active in video and everything, and quickly grew into a leadership role because you were nominated and became the Youth Caucus co-chair. Tell me about, like, how did you position yourself as a leader, coming from a very new into this work?
I was born to give. I would start with that. It wasn't positioning. I was just born to give. And I am more than happy to offer that time and energy to advance causes that help humanity in the socioeconomic perspective. And that is how I found myself here. It's been a lot of volunteering from the community level all the way up to that level when we met together. And it's been, at the international level, it's been 3 years. The experience has been there, gained over time, shortly before and when I came of age. And so it's about giving the skills that you have to the causes that are dear to you. And now when you grow up to be an adult, you see what makes sense to the people, your people, or the people that that help also your people. So basically creating a community. That is, I'm so passionate about that. And to me, that is leadership, giving yourself to lead through volunteering. It's not just that you gain anything. It's like the gain that you see from people developing and lives transforming, people seeing realizing their rights, especially those who are vulnerable like our own. And that has been, that to me positioned me to be there. Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. What, because you are the you're now co-chairing the Global Indigenous Youth Caucus. What is the biggest misconception that people have about how easy or hard it is to lead a caucus? Because I have experience in that. I would like to know what your thoughts are on that.
Wow, it's good to share to a wide range of audience today to share about that. I believe the biggest misconception, the elephant in the room, is power. People think that leading is about power, but you're entrusted that power. And Tuomas said it, and so glad he shed some light on it. The power to lead, you're given by the people, and or the space that you lead in. So it is a huge blindsiding effect to think that you have power. You don't have power. The power belongs to the people that you lead, the collective that gave you the power. So that is the biggest misconception. And I'm glad that I'm conscious in this. And I know that power corrupts. But again, it's beyond that power that you've been entrusted by the community to exercise in the space of the collective. A caucus is a network. And in this case, it is an avenue to advocate for the causes of the caucus, of the people, and where you come from. It humbles me to see my community, my family, and to see that a lot of those rights are still, even that's the basic human rights, you don't see them, and that is the key word. What you see in the people should reflect on your own leadership. Yeah. Thank you, Kesali.
Right. All right. You talk about seeing. Let's talk about observations then. Any thoughts on Indigenous leadership strategies? Do you see any gaps? And if so, what are your ideas to fill them? Any thoughts on that?
Well, it's diplomacy and internal governance mechanism. First of all, the Indigenous peoples movement has grown, and I pay respect to the leaders who came before us. They fought to where we are right at the moment. And every time I'm in this space, I tremble with respect to those who sacrifice for us to get this space. And so the question is, what are we doing in the gaps that we see, or the gaps that we have in this space? So Indigenous people's challenges are compounded by inadequate leadership structures and strategies to engage. We need to enhance the synergy, and we have technology right now. Perhaps we can have a sustainable medium to share our struggles, gains, and best practices. These should trickle down to the grassroots organizing. There are people who even cannot access these technologies that we have right now. And so it should trickle down to those who cannot access these kind of technologies that we are rising up and responding even in the face of disaster. I don't know if I best answered that, but those are the thoughts there.
Oh, perfect. Like they're all, I'm asking for your thoughts, you know, so because you're a leader, you have your own opinion, your own perspectives. I think that's very valuable. Talking about that current pandemic, COVID-19, how do you view this moment? Do you view it as an opportunity, a concern, a step backwards maybe? How do you process it? What do you see?
So at the moment, right now, I'm learning to share my thoughts because it not only helps me, but it may inspire someone out there, but also get thoughts from people and our support systems, those in solidarity, because in these kind of spaces that we do have, it's good that we share our best practices, our fears, our struggles, and even in the face of a disaster like this, we've always had these underlying threats. And now we use these technologies to share these practices and to share the threats that we undergo in our communities, best practices, for example, on how to improve our food systems and food security, health. And we're going back and seeing that traditional knowledge has always been perfect. It's been refined over time. And so this is a moment to reflect and go back to the ways of our forefathers and our ancestors and see how they've always practiced this, because for my generation as well, most of them are even struggling to speak their languages. And right now, you need to, if you are living with your community or your in your community, if you are able to learn your language, learn it. If you are able to learn some craft, an indigenous craft, that is, do it right now. If it is indigenous farming systems, do it. For us, I come from a pastoralist community that is almost also changing into, because of the changing times, we're practicing crop agriculture. And so do this right now. Ask your community, your eldest members of your community, do something to learn the life ways of your people. Yeah.
I love it, man. I love your thoughts. So very grateful that you're like have a leadership position in the movement now. Sorry, you're in the movement, and also very grateful that I have a leadership position. Talk to me about, because you're good at it. You're so good at your video production. Talk to me about that particular kind of creativity, and like how do you make it relevant in the indigenous diplomacy? Any thoughts or opportunities maybe?
I like this question so much because it's about the craft that it's inborn in me and using it to advance the advocacy of the causes that I just mentioned. And so this is why I started this. It is to tell the story of our people, devoid of prejudice or stereotypes, how people view us, how the conventional media run our stories. And so to just ignite the pride and sense of belonging from these great people who have a huge history, I thought of doing this, and I keep telling people that it started way back, and I knew it even in my childhood. I grew up in a village, and I knew every by the time that I knew how to read and write, I would go to a village shop and borrow some newspapers to read and understand how these people write, how do they tell the story, because we didn't have television. So that was the media that was available, and I would see, I always aspired to write for these big media. And so I started seeing some socioeconomic injustices or some things that were not in place, and I changed into this. I volunteered, and first it was a backlash because my dad didn't approve media and law, because he says that these are people who manipulate the truth. Do you do that, Gasale? I know you don't. And so my dad said that none of his kids would do law and media. And so it was devastation because I was a kid. I just had him telling one of my eldest brothers. And so, well, I thought if I can do this to advance the causes that are dear to our people, then it makes a difference. And so right now is a proud father, because I do it for the right reasons, to tell the story of our people. So when our stories are, basically what I'm saying is, when our stories are written and shared by us, the voice is clear. In the world, our neighbors or governments will understand why we just want to be who we are. We should leverage on technology as an opportunity to set our story right. And so multimedia technology comes into this opportune moment. All our knowledge in culture, food systems, climate action, and health systems have been refined, and it's age-old. It's an age-old wisdom that has been refined over time, because colonization made us believe that we are dark race. No, and we can use this form of diplomacy to decolonize our own people and the science of colonizers, which we see even right now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Carson. One thing that I'd like to give to you is like keep creating content as much as possible. Your story needs to be told, and your talents make use of them. So 100%. Thank you so much for your contribution.